Greetings, my fellow knights. This is Pyro Knight 95 here, and I'm here to talk to you about My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia is an anime that came out, I believe, either a year or two ago, and it's basically sky high in the form of anime. If you don't know what that means, it's basically a superhero show set in Japan where kids and everyone in society have superpowers, and it factors in so greatly to day-to-day life that it's basically normal. In this society, we have a character named Deku, who's born without superpowers. Of course, My Hero Academia is not without its many cliches and basic characters. Or rather, the characters are tropes. And yet, even though they are tropes, more often than not, we get to see something about them that makes them interesting. Like there's the character of Uraraka, a girl who is, for all intents and purposes, what I consider to be the main love interest. And yet she has motivations of her own. She wants to earn money as a hero by becoming a pro so that she can send her family, her parents, on a vacation. Deku is the main character who is born without superpowers, but works extremely hard to get those powers. And of course, that's so basic, but in this shonen series, Deku is more intelligent than he is physical. You constantly see evidence of this with him thinking, mumbling, trying to find out the most efficient way to handle a situation without having to harm himself or get in the way. That being said, this video isn't about any main character. It's actually about a character who only showed up for a bit and another character tied in with him. My idea is that relating to that of All Might's presence in the ideal of the hero killer Stain. Now, for those of you who don't know who Stain is, and spoiler alerts right now, Stain is known as the hero killer. That title isn't just for show. Stain has murdered multiple heroes. In this society that embraces the idea of the hero, everything has become commercialized and everything revolves around the idea of the heroes. Heroes themselves are kind of just big celebrities. They beat people up for money. They beat people up for fame. They beat people up for recognition. And it's all become corrupt and commercialized, at least in the eyes of Stain. Stain grew up in a time where the ideal of the hero was to do good because it was good. He grew up on the words of All Might, being inspired by All Might. That if you worked hard and had the power to do it, you should protect people because it was the right thing to do. But as time went on, Stain saw that less and less. People became more obsessed with becoming the top, getting money, and succeeding in society. And in truth, Endeavor is probably one of his least favorite people in the world, because Endeavor, despite being the number 2 hero, being only topped by All Might, he's a scumbag who not only repeatedly, what I will call raping his wife to make a perfect child that will succeed All Might for him, but he's also, just an asshole. Stain's convictions are made clear in the 3-episode mini arc that we see him in, and where he deals with Deku, Ida, and Todoroki, students at the USJ, or not the USJ, the school, the UA, I'm sorry. So what I'm basically saying is, Stain believes that people should just do good and be the classic superheroes from the old time comics. You do good just because you need to do good, and people will need your help. Even in this society where people have superpowers, most of them are civilians, and they need protecting. And that's what you should do if you have superpowers. Stain became a villain out of necessity because he believed he was curing a cancer on society. Now, there are many characters who fit the mold of heroes, for better or worse. But I'm going to talk about someone who I believe fits All Might's ideal, who I haven't seen anyone talk about, and who isn't Deku or All Might. Who could I be talking about, I wonder? I bet you wondering. Is it Todoroki? No, I don't think so. That one's a bit too easy. Low-hanging fruit and all. Is it Uraraka? No, as I said before, she is fighting for money, and even if it is for a selfless reason, she's still doing it for money. Then who is it? I'd like to point out Shota Aizawa, the teacher of Deku in Class 1A. Shota Aizawa is better known as Eraserhead. He's a hero who works in the dark of night, and it is relatively unknown by most people. Heck, even reporters don't know who he is. Even the League of Villains don't know who he is. Why is that? It's because he chooses to work at night. He hates being recognized. He hates the light of day. He hates being easily recognized because he hates the limelight of being famous. He doesn't want it. Aizawa is best summarized as just a pretty lazy and apathetic man. But with all we've seen in seasons 1 and 2 of the anime, and even further beyond the manga, you know that's further from the truth. First, we'll start with how things look with him at school. Aizawa is a professor at the UA, which means he's in charge of a class of kids, which is our main character's class. From the first time we see him, he seems like he's going to be a bit of an asshole. He's always framed in darkness and has the shadows of his hair over his eyes. He has a bit of a dark, rugged look. He wears all black. You can tell that he's going to be an edgelord or a hard ass. And this shows through with how he basically singles out and bullies Deku in their first encounter with the ball throwing test. Deku was planning to use one for all to send the ball flying, but he definitely knew it would take his arm out. Aizawa stops him with his quirk, which can erase a quirk so long as he is looking at you. With that ability, he stops Deku and warns him that he will not allow Deku to do that, because if Deku did that on the battlefield, he would be a hindrance. Which is a fair point, in my opinion. He said he fully expected Deku to try it so that he could fail Deku. And yet, Deku shines through by using just his finger, one for all, right on the tip of his finger to blow the ball away. This impresses Aizawa. And with his weird Totoro-like smile, we see that he is rather impressed. He also chooses not to expel the person with the lowest score. Something that I think is not originally what he planned. I do feel like he originally planned to expel someone there, but he went against it. I can't prove that that's what happened, but I feel like it is, just knowing things later on in the series. Next comes the USJ arc. It's the last couple of episodes of the first season. What does Aizawa do the moment the portal opens and reveals the League of Villains? He does not tell the kids that this is part of a training exam. He does not try to rush them out and turn his back to the villains, the active threat in front of him. No, Aizawa tells 13, his colleague, to stay with the kids and readies for battle. Aizawa gets down there and faces a legion of villains who look like they could rip anyone to shreds. And he does this knowing that his quirk is not suited for big battles. Even with just his scarf, his quirk, and his body, Aizawa defended his students, for better or worse. He even received a permanent injury that would later limit his quirk further. He had to get facial reconstruction surgery to deal with the injury, and can only use his quirk for shorter periods of time now, which comes up later in his final exam arc test with Yaoyorozu and Todoroki. This moment helps solidifies Aizawa as a character, as a loving teacher. There's a reason why there are a bunch of dad memes relating to Aizawa. It's because he is legitimately a good guy. Skipping ahead a bit, I'm getting to the final exams in season 2, where he battles against Yaoyorozu and Todoroki. As mentioned before, his quirk is limited here. But even without his quirk, he's able to very handily defeat the two students, though this is likely due to Momo's weakened mental state. Even after she fails to launch her catapult the first time, he jumps away, but is still captured by it. When the point is mentioned, he brings up the reasoning that he didn't know what Todoroki would do underneath the covering, and simply said that he didn't want to risk the chance of going in for Yaoyorozu and ending up getting hit by Todoroki. Again, while this is logical, I also feel like, based on Yaoyorozu's reaction and knowing Aizawa himself, this couldn't be further from the truth. I feel like he lied here just to boost the confidence of Momo and help his students pass, even if it was at his detriment. Bringing up all these reasons, I think it's pivotal to say that despite his outward appearance and how he can be or appear, that Eraserhead is a hero who cares about the little guy. He cares about the future of the world. He cares about his students, and which is why he chooses to work in the night, which is why he chooses to defend them and give them such a hard time. He wants them to understand that things won't be so easy in the real world, that even if they have a pillar of peace, a symbol of peace like All Might, they shouldn't stop and just get easy and get soft. That's probably why he's really hard on Deku. Deku, whether he knows it or not, or originally knew it when he took up the position, Deku has become the symbol of peace, or he will become the symbol of peace in the future. He has to be ready, and he can't just constantly destroy his body, even if it's something that he continues to do for the right reasons. It just isn't reasonable. Now, I started this by mentioning Stain. Let's go on a little checklist. Stain's convictions are that he believes people should be heroes for the sake of being heroes. Aizawa does this. Aizawa accomplishes this. We see this we are told this because he hates being in the limelight, and he personally hates how All Might conducts himself. Aizawa does all of his work in the night when not many people are looking. This is attested to by people not knowing who he is. Stain also believes that only the noblest of heroes do things without the notion of revenge or hatred in them. Aizawa is never shown doing that kind of thing. Even with the attack on the USJ, when the students were threatened, he did this out of protection for the students. Aizawa is a hero by every means. So not if worst came to worst, but if Aizawa came face to face with Stain, do you believe that Stain would try to kill Aizawa? Eraserhead? Shota? I don't believe he would. In fact, I think that Stain would see Aizawa and see his quirk. And even though Aizawa would attempt to restrain him, like Deku and the others did, I think that he would respect Aizawa. He'd probably even give him the same little note that he gave Deku, except to an adult. He acknowledged that Deku was All Might's kind of seed planted. Aizawa, I suppose, then would be a tree. A smaller tree than All Might, definitely, but a tree nonetheless, growing. One that might do better in the shade, but a tree that is growing to protect the people and give them coverage. So, in conclusion, Aizawa Sensei is a hero in My Hero Academia. One who, while clings to the darker things in life, is a hero that basks in the protection of his students. He loves them and would do nothing short of giving his life to defend them. In the attack on the USJ, Aizawa didn't know if he'd live or die, All Might wasn't there to save him. He didn't expect the kids to fight. He didn't expect 13 to have to fight. Aizawa was willing to give his life to save kids that he had only just met. And if that doesn't define what a real hero is, I don't know what does. This has been Pyro Knight 95. And until the king summons us again, keep those flames a burning, my fateful knights.